Hello and welcome to episode 33 of A Dose of Sinsanity. I am GR3. I am joined by Welshie and Jamokin and special guest. You know what? He's really not just that special. It's just, here's Naya. So, welcome, just Naya.
That's racist,
How's it going? Shut up,
dude.
82L Season 36 winner!
Yes. Congratulations.
Congratulations,
Big freaking deal.
Congratulations, buddy.
And
I appreciate my man.
We're going to get into that here in a second. But as tradition goes, we have a story time, and 'tis the season. Yes, we are getting into Christmas. Jamokin doesn't celebrate Christmas, but everybody else does. So let's get involved into Christmas. But I do appreciate how you celebrate
another podcast live.
The United States holidays. Do you celebrate Kwanzaa? You told me this.
Okay, just because I celebrate Kwanzaa doesn't mean I just celebrate Kwanzaa.
Okay, I celebrate Christmas, Kwanzaa, and Hanukkah.
More presents.
You know the people that say happy holidays too? That's me, because I celebrate all holidays.
Good for you. Good
More
for
dinners.
You.
You know, that's the secret. You get everyone to cook a bunch of dinners.
Yes. I might take over that.
I mean, delicious dinners.
Part of Christmas tradition, if you're unaware, Jamokin, because I know you're not very educated on the Christmas.
No,
season,
please tell me.
Is getting gifts. And you gave Welshie a Kwanzaa gift that turned into a Christmas gift, yes?
Oh
no. Yeah. I mean,
was this meant for Kwanzaa?
I mean,
what?
You know.
What'd you get?
Bro, I can't even. Oh my god, I need to show people this image. So before, like on Discord, my image.
Well, I'm sure our guy that does post production can definitely get that.
Yeah, I'll do. Yeah, that's actually a really good.
In the next week or something.
Yeah. The poster that's on the screen now. Hopefully, is on the screen now. Is what he got me, and it's my Discord profile picture, and it is now gonna hang next to my wall. It's one of these display things. And speaking of which, this stream is sponsored by Display. Display is with this new service I provide. I'm just kidding. No, this is
sponsor us. So Display for real.
Actually, they're actually really dope. It comes with like a magnet that I can stick on the wall, and like I can swap them out on the walls instead of like having to rehang a bunch of photos. So I can take like this Discord profile picture that's awesome and just put it on the wall, and then when nobody else is around, I can hang up other shit, and I think that's dope.
More inappropriate subject matter.
What was Kathy's suggestion?
Nothing.
No? You don't want to say it?
Well,
my fiance
my
fiance walked in and just immediately like, oh, dude, we can hang all the hentai we've been hiding from everybody. All right, let's go. And I was like, Catherine. The vulgarity.
I mean, what was the very first anime you watched, Ben?
Talking about it. I ain't talking about
it. What was it?
No.
We ain't going down the weed path tonight. I'm not going down the weed path tonight.
We brought our guest on, but, Welshie, please do tell.
That is a story time later.
And here's the story time I really wanted to get into, and this is just me suckering Ben into talking about it. But Ben told me a long time ago about a special tradition that he has with his friends on birthdays.
Oh.
And in gift giving.
So this is entirely a fucking sham for me to have to take over story time. I see how it is. So yes. This is a story of like a ups and downs, like very much like in my life. So
a lot of ups, huh?
A lot of ups. Oh, a lot of ups. Put it down. So the story of it is basically this all started in I think it was my 19th birthday, and I'm born in summer. I was back from college. I was hanging out, and to make a really long story short, my high school sweetheart of I want to say 4 years actually, 4 years, because I was a sophomore in college at that point, had on my birthday broken up with me over text. I shit you not.
Fuck them. You get Kathy now.
Can confirm. So you can imagine. I'm gutted. Like I am.
I bet she was the hooker from the story from.
Fucking bitch.
She was.
Fucking bitch. But long story short, is like, so I'm gutted. I'm fucking gutted. I'm like shit out of luck. I'm not seeing a fucking soul. I'm just fucking in my house and I'm just fucking alone. I'm like, what the fuck ever. And so suddenly, fucking knock knock at the door, package shows up. And I'm like, who the fuck is this for? And I see that it is from my dear friend who lives up in Erie. And it's not just an Amazon package. It is the Amazon, like he checked the box, paid the extra to have this lace wrapped, like when I opened the box. So this is a real package. And it comes with a label that says, dear Tilly, hope you can find a place to fit this. And like from your friend, love, Braden. And I'm like, oh, dude. And I'm getting a little bit emotional because I'm like, dude, my friends are here for me. My fucking family, dude, they matter. They care. I don't need that, bitch. I got sincere friends who care and send me shit, and they're awesome like that. So I pull the lace, I'm unopening it, and inside of this thing is a 13-inch suction cup black dildo that is the size of my fucking forearm. And I remembered the kind of friends that I have. And of course,
find a place to fit it?
The very first place that I put it was on my ceiling, and I hung from that thing. That is a suction cup to last, let me tell you.
That's impressive.
It is. And so the long story short of it is that, like, and that's how this tradition gets started. From that then on, and telling that story, everybody he fucking was mortified when I told him the story of this dildo when he sent it to me. And from that point on, we just started trading dildos on birthdays, which, let me tell you, explaining to your significant other why that's showing up on your doorstep once a year is an awful fucking time. Especially when he called me because his girlfriend wanted to know who the fuck it was for. And I legitimately just went, I don't know what the fuck he's talking about. I don't send dildos.
Fuck! Hey, yo, thrown under the bus?
Oh, 100%. That's what he gets for doing that shit. And then I just started sticking it in the stupidest of places. There was my favorite time.
Oh, you started sticking the dildo in the stupidest of places.
Don't you worry about it.
Please explain.
Don't worry about it. So hold on. The only thing I have to add to this is that, like, at one point I had I capped the collection at about 4, and I was like, at one point we were hanging out and we started. Oh, don't fucking say anything. We started throwing them against the wall, and it took me a moment to realize. Kathy just walked into this, me telling the story, and is just giving me the fucking look. But I'm gonna keep going. I'm gonna power through. We started throwing against the wall, and I just had this moment of like, this is the gayest game of darts I've ever played in my entire life. Maybe we should stop.
My favorite one was the
Yeah, it's a giant.
Good times.
Oh man, it's like a metaphor of go fuck yourself.
I got fucked multiple times that day.
Man, you know who else got fucked multiple times recently? Fucking Knock Knock. Get fucked 3 times in a row.
Losers.
Just taking it, not dealing anything. Like,
just call it already.
I mean, game 3 was a little scary.
Game 3 was not scary. How were they ever going to go high ground? You had a Naga with a freaking Radiance.
Magic Damage Lena, dude.
And a Magic Damage Lena was the most tower push they had on their team. There is no clear victory of winning other than snowballing beyond belief, and it never happened. Now, I will say it was probably the largest separation of 2 individuals farm over the rest of the, like, every other person in the game.
That's true. True.
But, I mean, it was like Stanny was ridiculously farmed. Was a Hex on the Ursa was ridiculously farmed, and then there was just like everyone else with like maybe a third of the net worth
or half. I gotta say, like Stanley did pop off all 3 of those games. I was really impressed by his play.
Well, I was hands down. Joe was the one, especially game 1 and 2, that impressed me the most. I felt like game 1 and 2, Joe kind of just put the game on his back and basically said, I'm going to carry this game. Like, I will make as much space as absolutely possible. And he did. Like, he created a fucking meta, like, that doesn't belong, in my opinion, in most games. And
what's that meta then?
Kunkka. Like,
that's right. You don't like Kunkka.
Like, what the fuck? Like, you haven't seen Kunkkas really at all. Because for the most part, they've been kind of underwhelming because it's like, They do okay damage. Like they're good starting out and they dominate lane. It's like Viper, win lane, lose game. And it's like the big part that makes like Kuka really strong is completely countered by BKB. And dominates his entire team fight. So like it's feels underwhelming. But Joe dumpstered in the first game. Like they tried to take it away because they felt it was that strong. And we'll talk about my feelings on game 2 and that draft here in a bit. But like, and then game 3, you guys just take it back. You're like, let me show you again what you're supposed to do. But how does it feel though? Not the first time, surely not the last time, but AD2L, and I don't even want to say Challenger League or Champions League because it's not really Champions League. You are the best team in AD2L hands down. There's no one else better in the entire league. How does it feel?
It feels good. Because it's like beginning of the season with starting with that with a new team, you have no idea what's gonna happen. You have played with them before in pubs or in like with Tokamak, I played with him in RD2L. So you already have that basis, my basis with each of them, but for them individually with each other, who knows how it's gonna pan out. And then like we going through the group stages that
You
stage then
had
playoffs, right?
hero change too, or player change too.
We did have a hero change, yeah. We had Gills,
Yeah,
and then his school schedule
sucks to suck, nerd.
got posted, and it's like, oh nope, sorry, can't. So that Panda was able to step up and be like, yeah, sure, I'll join in and all that.
Played excellent too, especially on that Zeus in game 2.
That
he was so
Zeus is
ecstatic by that.
actually incredible, especially because it literally.
There was a
Good.
Go for it.
It literally on Dota Buff, by the way, says that he wasn't a support that game. He was actually a core. It just says that
We
you
were
had 4
calling
cores
it
that
that.
game.
Yeah. There was a part of the game. It was just me, Tokamak, and Joe. We're defending our top tier 1 versus their team. And I'm just hearing the comms, just Panda's just like, hey guys, I'm just a Zeus. I'm hitting the mid tower by myself, and nobody's challenging me. I think we're doing okay, right? And the whole time we won the fight top, the 3 of us, but it's like, oh my gosh.
Well, he ended up getting a triple kill soon after.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was funny because Tokamak literally just gave bodies so that he could have a triple kill, which was funny.
He's such a selfless player.
Yeah,
it's great.
Your whole team had a clear idea of the path to winning each game. Like some players, it just feels or some teams you look at, it's very pubby. And you're like, the mid, I need to pop off, I need farm. The carrier's like, I need to farm, I need to pop off. The offlaner's like, well, if I don't pop off and create space and get farm, then we're definitely not going to win. And then your supports are running around and it creates chaos. But like listening to your post game interview it was like the Panda was like, I basically take trash. Like if need be, you're like, yeah, I just need to make sure that the lane doesn't go south for Stanny. Joe's like, yeah, I just separate, or basically when you play with Stanny, I need to play as fast as possible and make sure I'm there and creating as much space as possible with Toke. Toke's also the same deal. Is like just trust in Stanny, like he's gonna create as much space as possible. And it was very understanding, like you guys knew and had a lot of trust in your teammate that if we do this, we will win. Nothing's going to stop this. Like, only like we do. And you guys all had a clear understanding. And obviously, I get a bit of an insight because I can read your guys' chats and stuff. And like going in, you're like, they're a very, very early game team. Very early game centric and strong lanes, really want to dominate and snowball. And 5 players contributing to how do we stop this? What do we do? This is what our game plan is, and you execute it.
It is actually quite phenomenal. When you look at it, because it's like the biggest flaw that a lot of teams, like you were saying before, it can have is the part where they just treat it like a pub, right? Like they just pick heroes that are pub that they've been dominating in pubs or that are comfort picks for them, and they don't necessarily have that plan as to it's like how are we actually going to win this game? Where are we going to play at? Like how are we going to control this game? And I think that was like the big factor that for us is having that trust with each other and talking about it beforehand about it is like what we're gonna do and what we're gonna pick and who's gonna bear what weight and responsibility is always helps out phenomenally to the very end.
Very selfish Dota. Very, very selfish Dota.
Only for me.
Yeah.
That's how I know how to play. That's how I know how to play Dota. Like, you know me. I've been playing Dota my way, and that's the Naya way. Selfish. It's like I'm gonna carry this game myself. Give me that Wyvern. Give me that Enigma. My gosh, 80-12. I've just learned so much more about playing as a team and like, hey, this is how we play coordinated.
I will
Right,
forever
being
say,
efficient.
for the longest time that I've known you, and I've known you since I was a higher MMR than you, and you're like Crusader or Archon or something.
Archon 3.
Yeah, and I like when you started exploding. I've always like exploding MMR and really grinding. I was like, Naya is one of the most mechanically gifted players that I've seen. Knows zero about the game. Like, just nothing at all. And I find that interesting because you can start seeing the growth and you can start seeing like you're actually understanding what the game is. And now all of a sudden you're immortal. And now it's catching up your knowledge of the game, your ability to play in different situations, your ability to adapt to teammates. And it grows and it's successful. Me and Jamokin were talking. First off, I want to ask you because captaining was very, very new for you a couple seasons ago. You kind of got thrown into the situation, kind of got thrown into drafting. Like, I believe that the main drafting that you had prior was just drafting against me and in what do you call them? In houses.
Our in houses. Oh, the nice specials, just pre-made drafts already.
Right. But like that was your draft experience. But like, how do you feel that you have grown as a captain or you've grown as a drafter?
Drafting is definitely something that takes time to get used to. Because it's all about, as a drafter, it's all about having that trust with your teammates. This is how I view it with your teammates. Because when it comes to matchups and like what's going to be good for your team, you don't play those heroes yourself. You play your hero or like this pos 4 heroes, in my case where I'm a support player. But when it comes to like my mid laner, my safe laner, my off laner, I sure, I'll pick a random hero, but involving them in that discussion is just like it's great being able to learn from my teammates. And here it's like this will help us accomplish what we want to do and to come out with. When it comes to actually being a captain, just having when I first became a captain, I came with the mindset, got my mindset from a quote from a movie. You could say y'all have heard of the Cool Runnings before, right?
Yeah.
Jamaican bobsled
Where
team.
is this fucking going?
Where is this going? It's the part where one of the players is complaining about why he's not the captain and why the other guy is. And the coach goes on to explain that while all the teammates and the best buddies are out at the clubs, at the bars, having a great time, having fun, enjoying themselves, the captain is the one that's still in the hotel, looking, studying the turns, like doing his part and working the hardest for his team to make sure to set his team up for success. And I take a lot of that mentality into this where my way of doing it is not just like, here, you guys can look at the spreadsheet if you have a pastime. Instead, it's throwing the questions out there. It's like, hey, guys, what do you think about this? Or what's this idea? Like, how do you feel about this? And then just force them to be involved with it. But yeah, I'm still doing most of the work. It's definitely, like you were saying, like you've had a fun time, like just seeing all the chat discussions that go on in our group chat that we have.
Yeah, well, Shane Jamokin, we've kind of talked about this a bit in our previous podcast. How being a captain, you are put on a pedestal. Whatever you do, the amount of work that you put in is what the rest of the team's going to see. And if you are going to go in and you're going to say, I don't really care, then the rest of the team's going to be like that too. But if you're going in as captain, you say, I want to win. And it's not just saying you want to win. you're showing it. You're putting in the work. You're doing all the things that you need to be doing. Your team's understanding, and you're involving your team, not forcing them, but involving them in conversations and getting in. Like, it's an important aspect of being a captain, wouldn't you guys say?
Oh, I mean, 100%. It's just to go along with what he's saying. After you, Gemma.
Oh, I was just gonna say, like, I've only ever been a captain in Dota, so the the only thing I've ever known is to be, like Naya is saying, like, you have to be the hardest working player because you kind of set the tempo for the rest of the team, right? Like, how much effort they're gonna put in is somewhat correlated to what you're putting in. And if you laid back for a week, you will notice that the team is more laid back for that week. Um, so
And I'm glad you brought that up too as well, Jamalkin too as well, because it's like the parts where the thing that always gets me is when the captain makes the excuse of "it's not my fault," and he tells the team, "This is not my fault." That's the worst thing you can do as a captain to say.
Well, you're the captain. It's always your fault.
Exactly.
No matter what happens, it's your fault. It's the same as like being like a leader or a boss. Like anything that happens underneath you is viewed as you.
Exactly, because everybody, you're the face. Your
Yeah.
teammates are looking at you, even if they don't recognize it themselves. They are looking at you and your attitude, and that's what's gonna hurt them more than anything. You guys knew me before I became a captain, right? I was an angry gamer. Rah, 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 rah.
You were a really nice person and you became a dickhead really fast.
You got
you try laying.
you
with
got
that one character.
angry the moment you hit Divine. That's when I noticed the shit.
Yeah, there was that one fine line, dude.
I throughout the time that I've known you, Naya, that has been the consensus that I've heard.
Was that his
Alright.
villain story is the moment he became Divine?
Yeah, his origin story.
Well, in my defense, the origin story, when I'm getting away with a pos 3 Bane versus a Jug, and I'm crushing him as an Archon, like, bro, there's no better high than that. You're not going to be mad about losing that game. It's like, I'm crushing this guy as a pos 3 Bane. What's going on?
See, that was what got me to reference what Greco was saying about you being the best mechanical player. Like, I specifically remember I was like Ancient 2 and you were like Archon 5. And I just watched you, like, you did stuff with Bane. Like, you did actual Bane saves with the half-second frame of invincibility on the Nightmare, which people didn't do that at my bracket, let alone Archon. And I was just like, this is like, and everybody knew it. And I'm sorry to say this, everybody knew you were a sleeper. And you were the definition of like, if we can convince you to play ranked, everybody gets MMR from you. And it was just like,
because you only wanted to do dumb shit and bots with your brother.
But you were the only person who did dumb shit and bots and actually got shit out of it.
Yeah.
Hey, if you want to learn reflexes, bots are faster than humans, so.
Yes, they are. So going back to the actual series, though, yeah, I kind of brought up the idea of a meta, and that you notice in series tend to get brought up. Now there's small metas, and there's the overall picture of a meta in like AD2L or like TI or things like that.
Yeah.
And I believe they kind of talked about it on the panel, which was awesome. How the meta, and I think it's Billy Smitcher who brought this up. The meta is going to be different in AD2L as it is in TI because, like, you have comfort heroes, and you're going to stick more to those versus other things. And I found it really, really interesting when you look at what the meta actually looked like in this series between teams. So, for example, you guys played Kunkka twice. You guys played Mirana twice. You played Naga twice. You actually forced 3 Kunkkas who haven't really been a hero ever, like in the last God knows how many metas, and you forced it to be in all 3 games. And this is a huge drafting mistake, and I believe that we kind of saw this in TI when Secret in the finals was against Tundra, where you see something that's super successful, and you're like, I'm gonna grab it instead. But you're not that player. You don't have that kind of game. Somebody understands the way to make this successful. Doesn't mean that you do. You're taking a hero that hasn't been great and you're making it good. Doesn't mean that every team can do that. And I feel like that Knock Knock kind of fell into that and kind of played right into your hands, where You picked Kunkka. Joe pops the absolute fuck off. And then they take the Kunkka and then get shit on. And then you take the Kunkka in game 3 and it does exactly what it needs to do and the best way to play it in order for you to win the game. And it's interesting how like you see these heroes where you have like the Kunkka, the Naga, and the Rana, and you don't really see them other than the Rana too much. But you guys had a clear idea. This is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to play. I don't know if you realize this, Naya. There was 0 repeated heroes from Knock Knock. They played 15 different heroes in the 3 games.
I think that's exactly what I was planning for too, as well.
Yeah, you knew what you wanted to do. They were reacting.
They had no clue what they wanted.
And when they were reacting, that means you're winning. And in a long series like that, that means that they're playing on the back foot. They're confused. They don't know how to stop you. They've tried. They lost the first game trying to do what they want to do. The second game, they tried to take what you wanted to do, and they couldn't do it. Game 3, their palms are up in the air saying, I don't know what the fuck's happening.
See, that brings
Can
up
I just say that stealing something the other team's doing and thinking that you understand all the ins and outs in the middle of a series has to be like one of the worst things you can probably do in a draft.
and
Can I
if
just
you
say that's
can
probably
do,
never
I can
going
do
to work?
better. Yep.
Like, they're the ones that prepped like for 2 weeks looking at this stuff and figuring out how it works, how it plays against you. And you're just gonna pick it up after watching it kick your ass and think you're gonna be able to do it? Like, they know how it works. They probably know what works against it as well.
So, that's the interesting thing about a mid-series kind of transition like that is people who kind of do that, like they research it, they do the plan once, right, in a series, and it's like, okay, it didn't work. Now, that can fail for 2 reasons. 1, the plan is shit, and 2, the plan was executed poorly. And I feel like it's very important for people to be more critical. Like, I feel like it's really easy as a captain to like just kind of beat yourself on the back and just say, "Oh, plan was shit. I fucked up. No, entire thing was shit. I have to throw it out and try to do something else." And it's really easy for players to do that too.
Up. Personally, I find your players will do that more, or at least in my experience, the players will do that more than I will do that as the captain.
Well, of course.
I know it's my plan, so like I might be more like, no, this definitely works, blah blah blah. But like when it comes up in like post-week review or whatever, it's like, no, the plan's actually fine. These were the issues with the execution.
Which is another thing, right? But my thing is always that I feel like it's too quick that after a game, people just go like, "Oh, I don't know what this draft was supposed to do," and it's like, well, we talked about what this draft was supposed to do, and we didn't do it. So that's what it was meant to do. The shit we didn't do. Kind of complicated language. I feel like Knock Knock honestly just did that. It didn't work the first time. It really didn't work the first time. They crumpled up the plan, threw it in the fucking garbage, and said, "Come up with something on the spot." And every fucking time it didn't work, because that's exactly what happens. So,
well, I want to bring up something too along those lines, and I don't know how you feel about this, Naya, but the best, I don't want to say glimmer of hope, but kind of glimmer of hope that I saw in the entire series was the past 5 Ricky and the way they executed that, and then they just ditched it. How did you feel about that? Because there was a point in game 2 where like Joe was popping off, like he was unstoppable, and they started dicking him all over the map with this pos 5 Ricky with the sleep dart and all that. How did you feel about it?
I felt like that was gonna be the case because it's like early game, the way he just popped off in the lane and like making his rotations, absolutely phenomenal. But once it comes to the mid game when heroes are now starting to make movements, rotations, that's where Knock Knock specializes in, is in their movements. But the hard part about it too, as well, is like even though they were picking off the Monkey King, the amount they had to commit to just kill him. Like Kunkka had to use his whole pool. Even like Matt Gelman with the Dawnbreaker would have to global in to finish him off. It was like the amount that you had to use, and it was high risk versus what we have, because we still have, just because you have the Monkey King down, there's still a Naga farming around. That's the hero you have to be worried about coming online.
So do you feel like they should have stuck with the Ricky in that kind of situation? Because it did look great. Like the idea of, okay, we're going to sleep dart, we're going to pick off, like, bring in the Dawn on top of it and like finish off. Like, do you felt like that was a strat from the other side looking at this? Do you feel like that was a strat they should have stuck with maybe in game 3 and maybe built off of and pick different heroes around? Like maybe exchange out the Kunkka for something else that isn't just trying to steal like what you guys were doing?
For game 2 or for game 3?
So game 2, like I felt
They
like the
ran the Ricky.
Ricky in the way that they maneuvered and played it was really, really well played. And I thought was a huge aspect of why they had like the ability to potentially bring the game back. But they completely ditched it in game 3. Do you feel like that's something they probably should have stuck with or no?
They didn't ditch it in game 3. They just refined it, put it into perspective. Because here, it's just the Ricky that's scouting him out, making the plays. But you have this whole team, that whole team having to commit to kill the one hero. Game 3, they have a hero that instead of being there in the lane scouting out, you just need to have good ward placements, which Dops is really good with. Spiritbreaker can charge from anywhere on the map, giving you the vision, letting the Lena and the Legion Commander know, to which then they can now close off the gap on 1, even 2 heroes, since both those heroes can take out a hero by themselves. So I think they refined it there in game 2. Game 3 versus us. That's my opinion.
The other draft question I wanted to ask was when they picked the Legion Commander into your Wyvern, what was your initial reaction?
Yeah.
It's just like what dumbasses like why?
I was
single
very
biggest
happy about it, but
counterpick,
I was
yeah.
like, he. My only worry though was Fire Fist, because like even going back watching the games too as well, Fire Fist was looking to charge behind 2 heroes that were behind the line, trying to disrupt the fight as much as possible. And I had to be very careful with that because there was many times where, like, even though my position was good, I just pop out for that split second, and all of a sudden he's just charging straight for me. And that's what Niche Commander needs. He just needs to see where I'm at.
So let me ask you a question as well, because this actually surprised me. What was the decision making behind in that game, Tokamak getting the Aghanim Scepter as his first item? He had a rough game, but he picked
You
up
have to ask him on
Aghanims
that.
as his first item.
You have to ask him about that.
Really?
Yeah.
All right, fair enough.
He's a very intelligent player, one that I fully respect too as well, because he does think about the game play. Because it's like each player has their own style and how they make it work. So like definitely if I was playing the Night Stalker, I would have done something different. But I think the big thing that he was playing to do was playing the tree lines, just being our eyes in the sky and just constantly throwing out disruption with his Q, just kind of like how Spiritbreaker was, while the Conk and the Naga were in the front, and then me and the Marana were just waiting in the back, dishing out damage.
Just being really annoying, interrupting combos, and like just making the Spiritbreaker
giving us
life kinda
vision of
sad.
the Dazzle. Yeah.
And of the Dazzle especially.
So everybody thinks Axe is how you counter Dazzle. You just counter the ability. Night Stalker, anything that gives vision of Dazzle is the worst thing Dazzle can deal with.
So this was so Matt Jones talked about this in the post game a bit. He felt that it was kind of rough that there was so many weeks between the games, and there was like I think they went like almost a month without playing as a team, and then or like in any type of series. Then this new patch drops right before you guys' series. How did that feel on your guys' end? You guys played one more series, like a series earlier than they did because you guys were in the lower brackets. But how did it feel to have that break and then have a new patch?
I was a little bit worried about it, but with how minute the patch was, like how small, like even the changes were, I wasn't too concerned about it, except for the Wraith Pack patch and the Marcy nerf too as well.
Which surprised me because didn't you ban Marcy first in every game?
Yes. It's a Matt Joman special. hero. It's a hero that can snowball, and that ability only got nerfed as a support player.
Okay, fair enough.
As a core, you're already playing up the lane. You don't need that extra distance to get on the hero you want to get on top of. Getting away, that might be another story, but he's not going to run. This is Matt Jomer talking about. That's what's going through my mind. He's going to commit to trying to kill you.
Then you guys get rid of the razors. Well, and I noticed like Knock Knock's first phase bans were very reactive towards what happened in the first game. You guys stuck with yours, which usually, I mean, you see teams win and they do stick with that. But yours are very meta red first phase bans.
Mhm.
Theirs was reactionary, and once again, it's another thing where you guys just flat out prepared better. You guys understood what you wanted to do better, and had a better read on the patch going in. Because Razor is nuts. Like that hero is actually pretty insane right now. Do you feel like you guys prepared better than what they did, or were you guys just flat out better players and just outplayed them?
Just fucking better.
Just fucking better.
All the above. And it's like when it comes to because it's like I will consider them and like all these teams that we've faced is like equal skill level as such, and that's why I take care in how I prepare for these games. It's because when it comes to the equal skill, the team that prepares better is the one that's gonna win. That has the better plan.
Sure.
Because it's like if both teams are outplaying each other, the one that is able to be more efficient and make up for their own mistakes and take advantage of the enemy's mistakes is the one that's gonna win.
It's
So the last. Oh,
well, it's interesting because that relates somewhat to what we were talking about before. I forget the name of it, but that psychology thing that we reviewed that was tweeted out by
the
by Tundra's coach.
biopsychosocial.
Which is
pillars.
it's funny because you have the mentality I think that goes into like a winning TI teams, which is that we're all the same skill level. We have to figure out just how to be the most effective. You know what I mean? And I think that mentality of you have to assume, don't walk into a game just thinking we're best, they're dog shit, we're gonna beat the shit out of them. Like it's
because then you become EG.
Yeah. Or you're just gonna pick an Enigma and then not ban Silencer and it gets picked on 15.
Oopsies.
Oops.
The last bit I kind of want to talk about as far as the finals go in 82L. I don't know if you've realized this. You have 100% league win rate as a captain.
He definitely realizes because we brought it up before the podcast.
Do we?
Yeah, so I think he definitely knows.
Oh, well, there we go. Do you think that characterizes you as the best captain ever captain 82L?
Yes.
No.
No.
Why? What's the goal of 82L? Freaking win the thing. There's no one who's done it more efficiently than you.
Naya knows who's best captain in 82L.
Okay.
Naya knows who's best captain in 82L. He knows this.
Because this is the thing. This is why we can make the argument that I am the best. Is because I'm both times it was people that were brought together to create teams. Some people knew each other from being friends, or other people were just brought in from out of 82L community, so we could create the team. Like for my first one with emotional damage, and then this time with Pot of acedia. It's like we can argue that I am the best because I'm working with new players and new teams and trying to create champions out of these guys, while a lot of these other teams have been playing competitively in 82L for seasons on end. And I will say that is probably an advantage to have, is because people tend to stick to patterns and rhythms where they're just going to keep picking like these heroes for this person or these heroes for this person, and you can get an easy read and they don't try anything new. Right?
Like, this is what I've been successful on, and if you're picking something beyond this, then you're not doing the winning strategy for me.
Versus, like one grievance, I always go for it.
Versus minds that are kind of stuck in their ways and they know how they have won their games in the past. You are given fresh meat to kind of mold into whatever players you need.
Yes.
And that also goes with your last 3 seasons with emotional damage. You took first as your first season as a drafter. Your second season, you come in as a ringer in the playoffs as the new drafter. And you bring a team who really struggled and a lot of people said didn't deserve to be in the playoffs, take them to third place. And then when you go back to captain again, you draft once again and you win the league. Does that also say you're the best drafter?
I'm going to say hands down on that one. Having you on my team, I'm going to say this right now. You were hands down, I think, the best drafter in 82L.
I appreciate it.
I would agree. Like, in all honesty, like, I don't think you can't argue better. And like, I'm just looking at results and what gets results. Like, you took a team who barely, like, granted, you had a little bit of help of, like, you know, you didn't have the guy weighing you down to take third. but like, even then, you take a team that's kind of all over the place and wasn't really consistent, you take them to third. You take 2 teams of fresh new players and you take them to first. And not only that, but like in the first win, you go 5 games in a reverse sweep where you clearly understood what the hell you needed to do to win and were able to make mid-series adjustments to win that one. This one, it was so dominant, and from the first game about drafting them, you literally fucked their entire mental in the draft phase for the rest of the series. They didn't know what to do.
See,
like,
now there's a contributing factor that I think was to this that kind of occurred to me. It's really, really hard, I think, to keep your mental when you've lost game 1 in grand finals. There's something about that, I think, that just rocks you a bit.
it depends on you going in. Like, it's a best of 5 series. Like, you have a game you can lose.
You can always take risks because you have that
Yeah.
extra room to work with. It's a risk though because once you lose a game, who knows how that can
Now you're
affect your
behind.
own team and the enemy team.
But here's the last bit.
Uh,
Maybe not, because I did think of one more thing I wanted to ask you. What felt better? Winning with emotional damage or winning with pot of acedia? Which one did you like better? And I know you're well, I enjoyed them both in their own rights, and they were both really nice and fun.
and everybody's
No.
the best. And
Pot of acedia versus emotional damage. Which one was the better win?
time to choose.
Tick tock.
I'm trying to remember when you did play emotional damage. Was it a 3-0?
No, that was
it was
the
a reverse sweep. So they won the first 2
That's cool.
games and we won the last 3.
Yeah, it was hot.
Do you feel like the reverse sweep was better or the complete domination was better? Was emotional damage better? Was pot of sense better?
I'm gonna try to skew
I
this
think
away from where you're trying to take it.
There's a
I'm
right
gonna,
answer, Naya, and you're gonna fucking say the right answer.
I'm gonna say the right answer as my answer, not your answer, my son. I'm gonna
My
tell
son!
you.
We need hot takes.
Okay, first off, I'm your fucking daddy.
Oh no, you're not. No, you're not. You're just my sugar daddy.
Still your
hello.
daddy.
Paying for all my 82L fees and all
Still
that.
your daddy. Still your daddy.
Give me the Leech Commander.
All right, pick. Choose.
It'd be my time with emotional damage. Because that
Get
was
him off the podcast.
Reverse
that
sweep
was
is
the-
sweeter.
that
I'm gonna
was
agree with
the-
that.
It's
I
not
will
because
say
of the
that.
reverse sweep either.
Oh, fuck you.
It's because it's the beginning steps of the journey, right?
So would
before
you
destination is
rather
not end.
have a
I'd agree with that.
rerun with emotional damage or pot of acedia? Not
One more time.
like so
Is
you're
it just
talking about how
winning?
much you and no, like just I'm talking like a whole kind of new subject.
I don't know if that's a good question.
Would you rather run it back with emotional damage or acedia? The players.
I mean, you know me, and I'm Naya, and I'm always like, well, they both have their advantages, and they're both great teams and guys to play with. And
No, they
on all
fucking
this-
weren't. One team's better, and you're gonna choose. And I don't even care which one it is. I just want to know the answer.
So
When
moving
it comes
on.
to playing with a
Hi.
team, I would say acedia, just because of the draft potential I can do with them.
That's a good answer.
Well, emotional damage is like that was where it all began, and that's why I've learned like Father Morg really helped out with my mental and Herbie the Bird and making sure and it's like reminding me it's like look like you're a captain. It's like I know you didn't really want this position or like you weren't even necessarily asked, it was just given to you and you were told to do it. But we're looking to you. We need you to be able to be there and support us and not getting mad at us.
Good
And
advice.
honestly, it's like from them, it definitely helped through the rest of the other seasons to get me to me where I am now, where Acedia, I'm still making calls. I am watching, seeing what they're building, what they're doing, and just giving them those friendly reminders, but I'm not being mean or rude about it
Like it.
like before.
Growth.
So,
Growth through the seasons.
indeed.
Here was the main thing, or the original thing I wanted to bring up.
Pot of Greed sucks.
Oh,
We
take
were
it.
pretty,
Oh,
we
get
were
him outta
pretty
here.
fucking
Cut it.
terrible. You're
This is
correct.
never
We were
getting
pretty
uploaded.
terrible. So just remember, you're a part of Pot Agreed twice.
That's true. It's fun times.
There was a all chat thrown in at the end of the game.
I'm real broken.
Yeah.
Did you
Game
all
wasn't
chat?
He
I
did.
did.
And I'm gonna read it because I'm not sure. I want to make sure that this is 100%
Direct quote.
direct quote in all caps. Haters, where you at?
It was great,
You want-
wasn't it?
You wanna talk about what the hell that was?
What that was?
Yeah,
Wow.
address the haters. Here's a platform. Address the haters.
Address the haters, Naya.
Well, I had. Wait, I'm addressing the haters, or why did I put that there?
No, why'd you put? Well, yeah, both. I guess if you want.
Both. Okay,
Whatever
well,
you want to say about that. 'Cause
okay.
that
Well,
was pretty
the things I
funny.
have to say about. Oh yeah, because it was you. I'm gonna throw you under the bus now, Greco. It was you who told me that in that first game predictions and Zen's cast, you were the only one that voted for us to win that
I don't
first game.
care what Zen said.
Everybody else.
Kiki did not vote on that. It was
Until game
just me.
3.
Kiki didn't vote till game 3 when it was just me and Kiki. But game 1 was me versus
And you won the jackpot.
everybody else. So I got so many channel points.
It was like, oh, stay hydrated now.
Yeah. Well, that's funny. Where did that come from?
I just remember Toronto Tokyo doing it in his game versus for Team Spirit versus was it PSG LGD?
Yeah,
I
so
remember
it was just main like I'm fucking hype thing.
It was I'm hype. Nobody thought we should be there. Everybody wanted us to lose, and all that. People thought we were trash. And also, I think it's because of Stanny's fault too, though, because of that week 1. But that's what happens when you're a content creator too, though, right?
Yeah.
You're gonna throw some stuff out there, and people are gonna have grief against you.
In week 1, it's impossible. I did content for Challenger. It's impossible to guess what's going to happen through the
Right.
season. And
Right.
you're going to make predictions because you have to make predictions.
Right. But you
But-
can be okay. Like you can be gray with those predictions. Like, you don't have to say like,
He wasn't
oh,
wrong.
I don't think Knock Knock deserves to be.
For those of you who don't know what Naya is referring to, Stanley made a prediction. He said Knock Knock will not win the finals with this roster. He was correct.
He was correct.
He was correct.
Yeah,
But,
I mean they're fucking losers. So
I mean, but the part where
What can
you
you
have
do?
other teams that are using the link for that clip as the password for the lobby.
Yeah. So that's funny. So
It was like, oh my gosh,
here's something you didn't know.
what's that?
There was somebody at the beginning, and I was the first one on the stream because I believe, and there's a guy who posted 3-0 knock knock easy,
Ah,
and after every win, I quoted it or replied to it, going easy or oops, yeah, it was oops. And,
Good lord.
oh man, that feels bad. And Matt Gilman's
I mean,
interview at the end,
yeah,
like It sucks. It sucks being on the losing end of an interview, which is why I was glad for the last couple seasons I had Nick to cause chaos in the loser interviews. But it's never fun. Like I've done a few, Jamokin, you've done a few. I don't know if Ben, if you ever did any.
Nope.
But they're not fun. But oh man, was he butthurt. And the thing that made me laugh so much was him saying like how much disrespect he had for Joe.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And from the feeling that I got was they have the best mid in the league, right? Or at least one of the top ones. And
Yeah, one of the
you
top.
guys kind of
There's
went
a
in
lot.
just like, okay, how do we not lose the mid lane? And like, we need to put a little bit of like insurance on this. And for a team who didn't respect Joe, he fucking flopped on him.
Punished.
Like, I mean, dumpstered in the first 2 games and still had more impact in the third game than Molina did. Like, yeah, he just straight up outplayed him for the entire series. Like, it sucks, but dude, like, don't start trash talking when
It
you
is.
just got your ass raped, dude. Like, freaking, like, Ben's 19th birthday dildo just shoved into your booty hole. Like, that's what the freaking series was. Like, sorry, dude.
Yeah,
Like,
right. Well, it's
just get
the
out.
part where he says to people are you say it's like, oh, Joe only has one hero, and that's the Monkey King. Like everything else he's trash on. Why are you banning Pudge every single game?
Why are you picking his hero in game 2 so he can't play it? Because you're scared. That's what it is.
Right.
Anyways, enough of this. You guys just basically won your open qualifiers. You're heading into your regional qualifiers now. You
Let's
earn
go.
that spot to compete at the PSGS Invitational. That happens this coming Friday. How are you feeling? Like your warm-up time is over. Your warm-up season's done. You earned your right. You're gonna compete in the qualifiers for PSGS Invitational by right of payment.
Yeah.
You
We won
excited or what?
Champion
Yes.
Leagues. We're not given a direct invite to PSG.
You didn't win the
No.
Champion League then.
That wasn't
Mhm.
one of our entries.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you get the right to play. Big tournament, lots of money on the line.
There we
Makes
go.
More
Monkey
money
Dwell
than
look like jump
82L.
change. Like this is your TI this year. It's probably gonna be the last event you play in this year, basically. So, how are you feeling, Naya? You ready to play some AK teams?
It'll be exciting.
You gonna win? You gonna win the invitation?
I hope so, but probably
So
not.
I need a clip. So
You need something quotable.
I don't
What-
think so. Just because just seeing who did make it and like who's there, it's like there's a team in there that we lost to already that's in there. I'm just like, oh my gosh. Like
Yeah, but you guys are new and
Bull
improved
Jacks
and
is like,
gotten better.
gosh. True.
And your average MMR, I don't think is much less.
no,
No, that's all to Herbie the Bird, man. He's been climbing the ranks.
So have you though.
Yeah.
But what's the thing that you're looking forward to the most in the PSGS Invitational?
Money.
no. Hey.
Yeah, buddy. Okay, Samael.
You gotta win. You gotta win for that.
Yeah.
They offered me something I couldn't refuse. Money.
Yeah. So we're gonna kind of transition a little bit here in this podcast. Me and Jamokin had an interesting conversation as a reflection of another podcast and things. And to give you a little bit of background, this podcast was talking to a player who has 500 rank games, climbing the ranks pretty fast. Was a pro player in Warcraft 3. Just got into Dota and was talking about some of the differences. And one of the things that they talked about, and I want to get you and especially Welsh's opinion because you guys weren't involved in this conversation. There's a few things that he said that he noticed. The first bit was he says he feels like the map is zoomed in quite a bit, like it's really condensed, and he feels like every single time he goes into a fight, his eyes are closed, like his hands are over his eyes, like he just doesn't understand yet what's going on. At 500 rank games, you're just not like just sorry. But a little bit of history. So what they're explaining was in Warcraft 3, there was actually a hack that zoomed out the map.
Yeah.
That became a kind of a norm in like the Chinese region, and was actually implemented into a lot of their tournaments. Well, the Western players or Europe players were taking that and using it in their games, but it's very, very frowned upon. And they're like, well, we have to use this because we have to practice on it, get used to it, because this is what we're competing on over there in China. So he was talking about, he's like, would a map zoom or like zooming out in Dota to make it less condensed on the screen take away from some of the showmanship or the appreciation of how good Dota is? Because obviously, when we're viewing, they zoom out the map in fights and going around the map all the time. Is this something that you believe should or could or potentially any pros cons to actually adding this into Dota? Welshi Benjamogan?
I have a thought, but I will let anybody else who has a thought.
Nope,
go
your
first.
thoughts first.
That's fine. I think that more information always better. I have been feeling this way for a long time, that the map in Dota and my ability to view what's going on in the map honestly could be bigger, and I'd be much happier about it. More information that I can work with, the better. I honestly think as a player, it would just make me better to be able to see more of what's going on around me. Like, no more of the, oh, that guy was just outside of my vision and I didn't see him ready to blink on me because I can't watch the whole screen and the minimap at the same time, and that's a skill that others have. Maybe that's a diminishing return thing. Maybe I don't, as a player, I don't focus enough on the minimap, but I would love it. Like, I would love to have the option of, I can set that screen as wide as I want. Like, that's what I want.
See, I think the big thing is narrowing down the skill gap, like diminishing the skill gap in the game. And I think in some respects it's important, as you know, we'll talk on later on this topic, but I feel like this is a skill that is actually meaningful in the game. Being able to properly, you only have so much camera space, so being able to use it in the most efficient way is like super important. And if you watch some of these like pro players lane, like they have some weird camera perspectives that you just, if I watch people in my bracket, they just don't do that. So I think it's something meaningful that when you're actually watching a player's perspective, there's some showmanship to it. But in the aspect of when we're watching casters cast, they're not really watching people's perspectives. So you don't see that showmanship unless you're actually watching that player.
What do you think, Naya?
Good thoughts, Naya.
The classic Naya pause, dude.
Like Naya
It's
pause, I'm
classic.
thinking. Or he's sleeping. You just never know.
You never know.
Bro, I can hear the dial-up tone.
Just let us know you're there still, Naya.
There we go. Me, me, me. It was muted.
There we go.
Ah, you're muted.
It's for me. It's the fact of if you have to create a script, a mod, or a hack to play a game better, then you suck at the game. I'm sorry.
That's fair enough.
So basically,
Mm.
your thoughts on this is like
Yeah, good.
just
If you,
keep it in the normal range. You're not for like being able to zoom out. Now, this is, by the way, since been implemented as a standard in Warcraft 3 with the zoom. And what I'm asking is whether or not you believe that the zoom should be a standard in Dota, being able to zoom out more.
No.
Just get
absolutely not. Absolutely not. Because
Why?
so the whole blink range indicator, it stretches from the top of your screen to your bottom of your screen already, and you already have pretty good vision as it is. But if you're not able to manage your own map movements as well as keep track of like where your hero's at, if you're using a blink dagger, then no, absolutely not. Because like the whole idea is about map positioning. Like you'll watch pro players from their perspectives and how they have position on their map position when they're like just hitting the tower. Like you'll see like their hero's not moving at all, just hitting the tower. But then if you look from their perspective, their hero's in like the top is like in one of the corners of their map. of their screen, and they're looking into the enemy base with the other parts of the screen, just seeing it's like, hey, where's the enemy team at? What's going on? And
I mean,
allowing for more control, not a mechanic, but making it easier to be able to not have to worry about seeing what's behind you. You have your teammates behind you. Your teammates are watching your six. You don't need a bigger map. You should be communicating with each other.
I mean, you've also seen the way that like pros move their actual vision. Like it's actually completely different to I think how anybody else does. If you're not like a pro
Yeah.
player, like their map is like they spend 50% of the time looking around the map, 50% of the time looking at themselves, and like
Oh, it's got to be more than
But-
that. I mean, the amount that you look at your mini map, dude, is, I mean, I would almost say
80%
80-20.
of the game. Yeah.
but they're not.
But when
just
they
doing
look
that.
off their character, they never linger, and that's what I more people, especially in my bracket, 5K, need to get better at. When I watch like friends playing whatever, they take their camera off their hero, but it's like way too long. Like you watch pros do it, and they just like flick over and they're back.
But that's what I mean.
Yep.
Like
Because
you
like
have
every moment
pros-
your hero isn't on your screen, like there's a chance you get jumped.
Yeah.
You know.
and that's something that I think is what I'm talking about here. Is that like pros they do glimpse looks at their camera to actually see they do glimpse looks at their teammates to see what's going on over there, but then they quickly click back. They do it literally between actions. Do you know what I mean? Like literally between them doing one thing and another, they will do that, and it's very quick. Meanwhile, for like lower MMR players, it's either they never do it or their character is standing still in base while they're watching a fight. Do you know what I mean? Like with their fucking popcorn in their hands. And I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? It's like, oh, I was watching the fight.
Even if they're like hitting creeps, they're just like jungling whatever, and they're watching the fight. I'm like, you don't need to watch the whole fight. Like you're not going there. You're not if you made up your mind to not go there, you're not going there. So like, there's no point in watching the fight. Listen to what your teammates tell you, and move on.
So here's another thing that was brought up as well. That was added into Warcraft 3 is a mana bar for the enemies. Now there's an undeniable skill of clicking onto your enemies to see the amount of mana they have to make split decisions. Like this hero's low, I'm an anti-mage, I can blink on them and then bomb the entire team. Or like during our conversation with Jamokin is, can I go and burn like a bit of mana before this quap blinks? And if I get a hit or two off before the blink, are they going to not be able to? And making those decisions on, hey, in lane, they don't have the mana for spend on the Juggernaut, we can play on here. Like, would showing a mana bar be beneficial because it would be a bit easier? Or is it something where that's just yet another skill that is just has to be required and has no business being involved in Dota? Personally, I wouldn't mind the mana bar. I would hate the zoom. I think the camera needs to stay where it's at, but I don't think
Yep.
the mana bar would be as big of a change or hindrance rather in the game.
Because
Like-
my counter argument when we had this discussion is one of the arguments for not having the mana bar is like, oh, it takes communication and like, that's important. And I agree that there is a bit of a skill gap there, but I didn't feel like the skill gap was meaningful. And then my counter argument was, well, what if heroes didn't have health bars above them? And so you had to communicate to your team with the status of this hero. Hey, Centaur has 400 health. Let's hit him. And so your team would have to be like, that would raise the skill ceiling, but is it a meaningful way? Is it a quality of life thing? Like, wouldn't
yeah.
just seeing the health and mana above them just be a better quality of life thing?
And the opposite side of this, I was just thinking about this, it creates more outplay opportunities as well. How many times do you see somebody who's low on HP and you go to make an aggressive play, fairy fire, and turn? Or
Yeah, like you still have to
wand
click on them and see
turn.
their items.
Like, yeah, like you still have to do that. Like you still have to keep like an account. Hey, no, they have one. No, they have mangoes. Things like that. There's just I feel like there's more outplay, like that you can almost do with seeing the mana bar in the same
Mhm.
respect to like fairy fires and seeing the health.
And my last point is I feel like it would speed up decision making and it would make everything faster because your decisions would be faster when it comes to mana situations and what their mana status is like. I want to hear what you guys think though.
I think
Especially
the
Naya.
same case that you made for, just really quickly, the same case that you made for the health bar is the same thing for items. What if every single like player also had a small little fucking panel that displays their items next to them with the health bar? Like,
Okay, but we don't want to clutter the HUD too. Like, you
I'm-
don't want just everything UI.
yeah, I mean, I'm more saying the idea that exactly like you said, when does something become a quality of life improvement, and when does it become a decrease in skill requirements?
And that's kind of like the biggest thing when they were talking about this was there's closing the skill gap almost makes things worse for the game. Because you need your pros, you need the guys that are going to be making the money that you look at their games and you're like, wow, there's this huge wow factor. And by closing that, you open up, well, anybody can do this now because the skill gap's so much closer. And it's the argument of like, if everyone's a superhero, then nobody's special. You know what I mean? There's no appreciation if everybody can do this.
Syndrome.
So Naya, how do you feel about the mana bar being displayed above, like just under the health bar?
It's a hard one, honestly.
I just think it's like this does bring a very interesting topic to my mind of just quality of life versus decreasing skill gap.
Because like you can see the health bar of your enemies by holding down Alt, so you already know what that's looking like. Or even without holding down Alt, you can see it too as well, if I remember right.
Yes, you just see the.
So
But I feel like the mana bar part is more skill based wise, because there's only one hero that really cares about bars,
So
and that's anti mage. Nobody else does.
I disagree because anybody carry that buys diffusal cares about mana.
Not
And
really.
also decision making on the jug. Does jug have mana to spin?
Well, that's when you
There
can
are
quickly
situations
just look.
where. But if it's just displayed, it quickens that decision making. Everything's allowed to happen that much faster.
Mm,
You get punished more as the player, and they're able to make decisions quicker.
I don't think it will go to that effect at all, because the amount of times you see people with, so like talking about the fairy fires and the wands people have in their backpacks, the amount of times that people forget that they even have those, it's phenomenal. Like people be like, oh, I forgot I had a 20 charge wand with me. Oh, I could have used it. Yeah. So like having the mana bar and seeing it, nah.
Wouldn't that just create like another like mechanic to like another mechanic of the game?
It'd be an unnecessary mechanic because it doesn't provide nothing information.
So
Sure.
then would the
Knowing
argument
Enigma
then
has
if it
full
if
mana,
it
you
doesn't
could drop double black hole.
if it doesn't affect really anything, then wouldn't it be more of a quality of life thing that would be a positive change in general to Dota?
No. Because as we've seen before in the past when Valve has done patches, is they change something and all of a sudden we get 3 heroes that have messed up abilities that were even touched in the patch.
Yeah, but how?
The Sand King Epicenter, the
Yeah, but
Underlord
let's
Q.
that's just a bug. But like, let's say like you have like where the hell was I going with this?
See, I
Like
told you.
there,
Absolutely
yeah.
unnecessary.
I mean, okay. So like familiars,
I can think of lots of examples.
familiars for Visage.
Mm-hmm.
The ability was moved onto their actual ability bar instead of having the micro to the familiars. That was a quality of life thing that had zero change to the actual game, like for the most part.
Yeah.
Would that not be along the same lines for your argument of just adding in a monopool if it does nothing? It's just a quality of life thing that maybe makes it easier for players that are new to understand the game a little bit more and make decision making if they're not clicking on the heroes. It makes it easier for the lower skill level players to maybe learn and take advantage of things like that.
No.
And no,
No.
So then
My
we should go
argument
back to
is
One
this,
Courier then. Because I feel
is
that changed the game much
people
more
need to
than
learn
mana pools.
how to look at heroes. they need to learn
don't?
how to
You
quick.
still have to do that. That
No,
doesn't
yeah,
change it.
no, because how often will if people see the mana pool, they're not going to be looking or checking for anything really as
You-
necessary.
I mean, Naya, let's talk about, the brackets we're closer to. You're constantly clicking on heroes and seeing what items the enemy heroes have throughout the
Yeah.
game. All the time.
Yeah.
But it would still be nice to see their mana, especially in a team fight.
I don't care.
Fair enough. So,
Because-
I guess as a support player,
okay,
it's
let me
different.
put
As a
this in
carry player,
perspective
I can
for
tell
you.
you it's important.
But why? Once a support throws his spells out or Zeus throws his spells out, okay, all he now
Okay,
has
but
are
if
the
I'm
small
ganking
stuff.
somebody as like a Slark and I have Diffusal and they have an
Mhm.
escape ability, I need to know, can I drain enough mana when I pounce them and hit them with Diffusal, or are they just going to get away anyway and I shouldn't even make this play?
You should
And
be
being able
looking.
to just
You should be looking
check
at the hero as you're making your way towards them to see how much mana they have, or
but
if
doesn't it make
even
it
it's possible.
easier if it already
the
shows them?
decision would just be faster if someone showed up under a ward behind some trees. Like, there's just situations as someone who has abilities that drains mana
Mhm.
and can get burned if they have too much, that this would positively affect me. I can understand from your perspective where it's like, this doesn't really change anything for me. I'm still going to click on the guy anyways. So I do understand your perspective, actually.
Yeah, because the players should be learning that they need to be quickly checking, looking, and making those decisions. Like I can understand, and agree with you that yes, it will make decision making quicker and easier, but it's also unnecessary for it because then
So
you're just taking away a skill cap right there now. Something that
going
has to
back
be learned.
to where the topic originated, No Tail was of the thought that he would like to see the camera zoomed further out, but not have the mana bar display. And I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah,
Because
that was
from
kind of
our
opposite for me.
what kind of seems from our perspectives is zooming the map out decreases the skill gap, whereas most of us would say displaying the mana bar doesn't. Obviously, Naya is of the opposing opinion. But I just thought that was interesting how he views the game different than all of us.
I think I'm on
Mhm.
no tail side of it. I'm gonna be real with you because I really do believe zooming the map out only just gives you access to more information. It doesn't actually change like the content and like the actual tactics you have to use. Like clicking on a player, I agree with you, or on an enemy is an actual tactic you have to use. And if you see the mana bar, that's another part of it as well as checking their items.
I don't know.
Yeah,
So
but-
like what Naya was saying earlier is the blink range is like the full length of the screen. But if you add like say I'm playing Rubik and I have an ability that extends that, or on top of that again Aetherlands and that extends that.
Or your
All of a
Ember
sudden
Spirit, or
before, yeah,
anybody
like
who can cast
I
far away.
yeah, like I'm able to go a farther range and blink from out of your vision into immediately like stunning or lifting or grabbing or like whatever have you. By zooming out, you lose that entire mechanic. Because you can always see it.
It's interesting. I kind of like where the camera's at, because even in team fights, when there's a big team fight, like I just stare at my map when I want to know, what's happening, especially in
I
like a
stare
team
at my
game.
carry.
I
How about you, Naya? I stare at my carry to save their dumbass.
so like
I just
I
leave
feel like
them,
I can
man.
just get a bunch of information from staring at my
Just leave 'em.
mini-map and then listening to what my teammates are talking about in the fight. And I feel like with good communication, obviously it's different in pubs, right? Because the communication is just sometimes there's none.
Sure.
But
Sometimes there's literally nothing said except
Let
for
me-
well played. I know.
Let me ask this then. Based on what you're saying, Jamokin, and like the idea that we talked about where you look at your mini map about 80% of the game, with a zoomed out camera, does this make the necessity of having to look at your mini map less? Maybe not like, oh, not 20%. You don't like I look at my mini map, but
you
like
would
I'm
be looking
talking
at it
like
in team fights,
maybe
most
like yeah, like I don't have to look at team fights, maybe I'm looking at it 60% instead of 80%. Is that more of a mechanic change? Is that more of like a meta shift? Is that more of like, or like using heroes that can really close gaps fast like that? Is that a huge change? Now, obviously, you get more information. The more the map zoomed out, the more information. But I guess like there's just the kind of perspective of if like for the higher tier player who's looking at the mini map quite often, because clearly in my bracket, I'm not sure that they know there's a mini map there.
They turned it off.
Yeah, right. Like left side, right side, or off. Off, please. But yeah, like
Okay, wait, real
is
quick.
the more
shout out-
information better for like to create different metas, a different mechanic, and like the pro scene to create more excitement.
I think anything that makes the pros playing easier would indirectly make Dota more exciting from a spectator's perspective.
Yes.
Because again, they're watching the caster cam. Well, in a team fight, that thing's zoomed out anyways. So like, if it made the pros play better and pull off sicker plays, they'd make the game more exciting from a spectator.
Sure. So I want to move on to this last bit. And I think this is perfect for you, Naya, because you're kind of talking a little bit about this, and you've talked about me on how this has been a major focus on your improvement as a player, as a captain, as a person, is the mental aspect of the game. And I thought that this was something, once again, it was brought up on that podcast that would be really neat to go over. And that's like the idea of shot calling in pressure situations and like reading a room during the game. So, are people frustrated? How do you respond to them? When things are going nuts, which they have, like they do often in a team fight, what ways do you shot call in those pressure situations to create beneficial responses or get your idea across?
It's actually a hard one, really.
Or do you just say, quote unquote, you need to get your pussy ass head out of your ass, or whatever the fuck you said the other day.
Got my team back together and all that. Oh, that's funny.
I'll tell you what they were saying. So No Tail brought this up and was talking about Seb, and he goes, "This is a skill that he is very, very, very few people have." And Seb, like, is the best he's ever seen. It's just reading the room, getting somebody to understand when they are frustrated and they are, say, getting flamed by somebody else or they're flaming. How do you redirect it in order to get them to do what you need them to do, and calming the things down? When you're in a pub, I don't know if you guys have ever played the game of Dota 2. It's
not
toxic as fuck.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of screaming and people saying pussy ass and all that stuff in your pubs like Naya. And it tilts. And trying to get the idea of this guy's already tilted, but I need him to TP top, defend this tower so we can take this, win the fight, take their tower, open up space on the map. But if they're tilted and you just scream at them, they're probably not going to react well. So understanding of trying to calm them down, they can be tilted, but still get them to play the way that you need them to in order to win.
Yeah. Honestly, there's this wonderful book called How to Influence People and Make Friends by Dale Carnegie.
Say bad words.
No, he's actually
Chapter
got a lot
1.
of good points. in there.
Chapter 1.
Chapter
But no,
Say bad
always-
words.
It's always how you approach the
Chapter 2,
issue.
be
'Cause it's
racist.
like when people come into these
Hold up.
games, they're not looking to lose. They want to win the game, right? And that's where the frustration comes, is the game's not going the way that you're expecting it to. Like, you're losing
Yes.
lane, you're getting ganked, you're losing a matchup you believe you should be winning, but obviously it's not the case, you know.
No one, well, there's some, but the vast majority are not trying to do bad. They are literally going into the game wanting to win MMR. Like I said, there are the select few before I get whatever, but like they're going in trying to do what they think the best approach is in order to win the game. They will see the game differently than you. They will like make mistakes that you don't make, but you're going to make your own mistakes in your own right. But jumping on their back while they're having a rough game, and I've had them. Oh, I've had some bad ones where it embarrasses me to watch me play. Like, it's hard. Like, I played an Earth Spirit game, and you all have seen me play Earth Spirit. I don't have a bad Earth Spirit, and I've got hundreds of games on it. Very, very confident in the hero, and holy shit, there wasn't a spell that I could hit, and it wasn't even like it was close. Like, he would go left, I rolled right, like, kind of thing. And it's not trying to do bad. I understand I'm fucking up. I understand that the situation we're in is probably my fault. The last thing you need is somebody else to remind you over and over and over and disrespect you like for other fucking things, like saying you're mentally challenged or disabled and shit like that. Like, you don't need that. Like, it doesn't help the game. Like, you know what I mean? Like, but the other thing that they brought into this was you tilt a teammate, especially at like Naya, your MMR. How many people do you match with? Like, you'll get the same person like 2 or 3 games in a row in your pub.
Nope.
Like, I'm sure you match with people all the time that you've recognized because the player pool is significantly smaller at your
Bro,
rate.
that happens in my MMR.
Yes, it happens in mine, and I'm freaking legend. Like, or like you jump into a game, you have this guy who just had an awful fucking game, and he's on your team again. So what do? You start flaming him more. Guys we lost, his Wind Ranger was shit. He didn't do anything. He couldn't hit a single shackle all game. Guys trash.
Are we trying to talk about solutions here, or are we just talking about keep spamming the play?
Sounds like we're describing Austin mentality right now.
But here's the point: is people will do this, but remember, like, and the thing that they brought up was, you just lost 30, probably this guy's fault, but you're gonna keep at it, and you're gonna turn that into a minus 60. Like, reset, stand up, remove yourself from the game. And the best advice that I got, and this is from JMR, he goes, actually, he got it from I think it was Seb or No Tail. They go, there's times when you've just had a bad day. There's an awful day at work. Things aren't going right in your life, what have you. And you're like, well, I'm going to calm down and play a ranked game of Dota. Don't fucking do it.
Exactly.
Like, don't let
Dota's
whatever
not
you're...
a game.
Yeah. Like, don't let
To
whatever
calm
else is happening in your personal life affect your MMR. Like, you're going to go in a shitty attitude, and then you're going to take it out on 4 other people who have nothing to do with whatever the hell's going on in your life. Don't do it. Right?
Right.
There's
if you want to go play an arcade, I hear Ability Arena's fun.
This actually
Play
also builds into a kind of, I think it's a psychological fallacy that occurs, especially when it comes to relation to anonymity. It's a fallacy of, like, whenever you see somebody speeding on the highway who, like, kind of cuts you off, is rushing wherever the fuck he's going, you automatically assume that guy is a piece of shit, right? Like, you just go like, oh, that dude's fucking speeding to wherever the fuck he's going. He's being a jackass. He's just not caring about other people. Meanwhile, like, you could assume that, or you could think in the mentality of, that man is rushing to see his daughter be born in the hospital, right? There's multiple. He's like, oh, why is that guy rushing? Something must be going on with him. Instead of, like, the same thing. Well, it's the same thing as that, though. Like, in Dota, we don't go to the example of, oh, this guy, this guy's dog shit. This guy has a salt attitude. He's a piece of shit. He's a terrible human being. His parents don't love him. rather than this dude's having a really shitty day and is just playing ranked, and it's not a great decision, but that's how his day is going, and he's taking it out on everybody else. Maybe a little bit of compassion will help calm this guy down.
There's a skill to also seeing this happen in your game, in how do I adjust to win this game regardless? Does making things worse by flaming him make it better? Do I win the game in that fashion? Do I pick him up and say, hey, you're doing a great job? Whenever he does do the one thing good the entire game, start feeling a little bit good about himself, maybe he starts figuring it out and then has a better attitude about the situation. Can I adjust my gameplay into something shitty that's going on? I talked to Jamokin about this example. My POS 5 Witch Doctor building Dagon 5 only item. Do I look at this saying, okay, GG, give up? Or do I say, okay, now we have burst. What else? Like, what can I do? Because now we have burst.
Hate to say it, keep a PMA, keep a PSJ.
Keep a PSJ? Who's PSJ?
Sorry, BSJ. Jesus, sorry, I got the limerick wrong. But the end point being is that exact mentality. Like, my whole thing is still, and this is a truth of Dota, this is a truth in life, bring others up, don't push them down. It's very simple to do. And you simply just choose...
No. It's push others down, pull yourself up.
Yeah, no. I bring others up, not push them
No,
down.
you're drowning in a pool. You're drowning in a pool. You gotta push those motherfuckers down.
Drowning in a pool is what the Dota 2 MMR system really is.
Yeah.
Trying to get into that immortal rank. And Russ is climbing out of the pool and onto the diving board.
See, now to me, the climb isn't climbing out of a pool. The climb is a game of tug of war. And me pushing my feet off the back of the person in front of me is not going to save that. You know what I mean? We are
throwing dirt in the enemy's face. Now that works.
Now that works. Tilting the enemy is absolutely a way to play, and it will gain you MMR. But no shit, shooting your team in the foot and tilting your teammates and saying shit about them is never going to. My game is always to make sure that nobody tilts and everybody's trying to have a good time. If there's camaraderie, there's wins. That's the simple system.
Naya, next time you go into your rank games,
Mm-hmm.
when your team starts doing stupid shit,
Mm-hmm.
just start trash talking the enemy CM who hasn't done a single thing wrong all game. Take it out on them. Throw dirt into their face, not your own team's.
Yep.
I wish I was joking. I had a friend of mine who literally his entire tactic for gaining MMR was to play techies and question mark every time he killed somebody.
Naya, was that you?
Yep.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
You're a techies player.
I am indeed.
Scum.
Don't forget the meta of 70% miss chance brewmaster and then saying better luck next time every time they missed a range creep.
Yeah. And I want to end on
Try
this.
harder.
I want to get Naya kind of involved here on in this because he just won Elite, right? He is in a very, very high MMR bracket, which Naya, am I wrong to say that it can be very, very toxic at that level?
In pubs, absolutely.
So in order to keep climbing and the things that you've learned to even just be successful, how do you, even as a captain, deal with resetting and keeping a positive attitude even when things are going wrong? Because you guys lost your first bid in your playoffs, and then you didn't lose a single game thereafter in the lower bracket. What did you do as a captain in order to keep that mental and to keep things moving along in a positive fashion? And I know some of the things, but I want our heroes are not heroes. Yeah, they are heroes. Our listeners to understand as well.
Our listeners are our heroes. All right, let's just start with that. Our listeners are our heroes.
It's a hard one, actually, too, as well. I just know things that I do is I just keep the next series up on it. Because it's like once you lose the series, it's you as a captain, like me as a captain, I'm saying it's like this is my fault, guys. Like I should have prepared better. Like I should have had better picks for you guys too as well. For that, and then we're reminding them about the series in the next week. You're just like, guys, we're gonna win this game. We're gonna rock them and sock them and mess them all up and just crush them. It was-
Can I read a passage from your guys' chat? Would you mind?
no, not at all.
Okay,
Curious to hear
so
what that-
this is a thing that I kept noticing, which is kind of refreshing because once again, Naya, like, not to bash it down, but you have been had a toxic like mentality at one point, and you're improving, and you can
Raindrops,
see
guys,
it, especially
raindrops.
as being as a captain. And I joked with you kind of about this thereafter, but you go, today is the day, boys. Let's give them hell. I fully believe in each of your abilities, and Knock Knock isn't going to know what hit them. We're going to win our lanes. Our map control is going to be insane. Our fights and team fights unbeatable. Let's remind everyone that we are the champions here, that we deserve to be here. We all worked hard for it. Now let's finish with a bang. It's you've put a couple of these each and every single week of saying basically believe in yourselves, like I believe in you, and if we play, I mean, essentially, like we are the better team. We just have, like, we've worked hard. We deserve to be here. Finish it, kind of thing.
Yes.
And I joked with you saying, "What up, Seb?" Like, but it's the truth, and I feel like that's a great kind of trait to have as a captain. And obviously, things like that do lead to champions. So once again, congratulations, Naya. Huge deal. Now a two-time champion, 100% win rate as a captain. Really excited that you got to join us and kind of talk about the whole thing. It's a bit long of a podcast, but I think it was 100% worth it. So thank you very much for being with us.
Oh, thank you for having me. It was fun.
And with that being said, adios, everyone.
Later.
Bye.